Today I'll be reviewing Boruto Chapter 46, True Identity. This chapter was insanity. And I mean that in a good way because this was the perfect mix of action and story, and it really feels like we got an even amount of both because we got major revelations that confirmed theories within the community about Kashin Koji being Jiraiya, and then we got another major theory that was actually 100% confirmed, and that's that Isshiki came to Earth with Kaguya as her partner, which we've been suspecting since chapter 35 when we first saw them. But I'll get more into that later since this chapter review is already late. I don't want to spend too much time recapping or discussing things I'll talk about later. So that aside, the chapter starts with Kashin Koji saying that he was created to kill Jigen and that is his supreme objective and reason for existing. Meanwhile, Naruto and the others are just watching. And Kashin Koji also says that's what shinobi are made for after Jigen calls him a tool. Amato also says that this is their best chance to beat him, and I'm kind of confused on that because I don't know why, but I feel like Amato knows that he can't win now unless he plans on sending Naruto and Sasuke in. Because if they send Naruto and Sasuke in at full power right now and Kashin Koji is made to kill Jigen, I feel like they could get it done, but I guess we'll have to see how the fight progresses in the next chapter to kind of determine if that's true or false. And as their fight was going on, I got them same vibes I've been getting throughout most Boruto fights. You kind of get that Dragon Ball Z kind of vibe with the fighting and combat, along with the more end of Naruto stuff with the flashy attacks. But in this fight, we did get more like ninjutsu aspects with the hand signs. And we got a lot more hints towards Kashin Koji being Jiraiya because we saw him use the Flame Bomb Jutsu and the Oil Toad Bombs, which are two Jiraiya's signature jutsu that he combines when he's fighting. Something else I liked is how he used those jutsu to distract Jigen and then pulled out a ceiling jutsu underneath where he summoned fire from a flaming mountain. Because back in Naruto Part 1, one of the biggest things was that it's the jutsu behind the jutsu that you have to be worried about. And I'm glad they kind of brought back that aspect in this fight, because later on in Shippuden it's just pretty much large-scale jutsu just clashing with each other. It was also cool to see him use the shadow clones when he was fighting Jigen too. And something else people have been talking about that happened during this chapter is while this is all going on, we see Naruto has that one moment where he says the mask guy fights just like, and we know from the context clues that he's referring to Jiraiya. And as Naruto and Sasuke are watching, Amato explains to them who Jigen's true identity is, and that's Kashin Koji, who was Kaguya's partner when she came to Earth. He also tells them that Kaguya turned against him for some reason and beat him to near death after catching him off guard. And that's why he was forced to take over Jigen's body. So, before I get into the Kaguya bit, I want to talk about a few things that we've learned. So, the first is confirmation that Isshiki came with Kaguya, because we've been speculating on that since chapter 35 when we saw their symbols, I guess you would say, inside the Otsutsuki dimension. We saw Momoshiki's and Kinshiki's, and then there was Kaguya's and what appeared to be Isshiki's symbol. So now we know with 100% confirmation that they came together. Now when it comes to the role of who played the Kinshiki and the Momoshiki between them, I think Kaguya, if I had to take a guess, I would say she played the Kinshiki role based on how their symbols appear on the murals in chapter 35. Because she's like under Jigen's, or I guess Isshiki's symbol, just like Kinshiki was under Momoshiki. Another reason I think that is because it wouldn't have been a betrayal if she had just decided to do what she wanted to do. It would have been a change in plans. Like if you're the boss and you decide to do something else, you didn't betray anybody. You changed up the plan that you were in charge of. But Kaguya, if she wasn't in charge and decided to do something else, that would have been a betrayal. But where I think it gets interesting is where you consider the fact that Kaguya was called a princess. Like she's called Princess Kaguya repeatedly. And why would a princess work under somebody else unless this guy is ranked higher than she is, like an older brother or something? We don't know. We also know that Momoshiki and Kinshiki came after Kaguya exclusively, never mentioning anybody else. But that could just be a retcon that can be explained as easily as they knew that Isshiki died at one point, so they came after Kaguya herself, knowing that she was the only one left alive on Earth. And when it comes to the reason Kaguya betrayed them, I think the reason ties back into the anime filler that we got. We know Masashi Kishimoto had some influence on it. And if you go back to those filler episodes, we know that Kaguya married a human and then had her kids, Hagoromo, Hamura. And I assume her marrying them definitely wasn't part of their plan. Because why would they send her to marry a human on a planet she was supposed to take over? And we know that Kaguya loved her kids because she stated that repeatedly, and we saw plenty of times throughout the series where she looks at Naruto and Sasuke and thinks of her two sons and the sacrifices that she had to do for them. Maybe this ties into those sacrifices. Maybe she had to betray the clan to keep them alive on Earth. There's also the fact that she ate the chakra fruit, which I believe was a problem for them because she was supposed to eat the fruit or just take the fruit and bring it back to them, but she kept it to herself. But back to the actual chapter. So after Amato explains that Isshiki had to take over Jigen's body after he was near death, Sasuke asks if that's when he put the karma mark on him. But before Amato can answer that, he asks Naruto for his response on his asylum. He's like, "Can I get this now or no?" And he's really trying to take control of all of the cards right now because as he's telling the story, he's literally giving them bits of piece of information to make them want more information so that he can get them to do what he wants to do. And he's done his research as well because he says that Naruto is allowed to give him the asylum without the feudal lord. And Amato says he won't take off the collar until he gets the paperwork, even though Naruto agrees to give him his asylum. So right now Amato kind of holds all the cards in his hands. He kind of has Shikadai by the collar. He has now Shikamaru and the Leaf can't do anything to him because he's a citizen. So really Amato has the most control right now because he has all the information and the power over Shikadai. He can essentially leverage things whichever way he pleases as of right now, or at least until the asylum is written down in paper. So after that, Amato explains to them how the karma works and says that Momoshiki essentially placed a saved data inside Boruto as a backup file, and as time progresses, it'll slowly extract itself until Momoshiki fully takes him over. Amato also says that the only way to prevent it right now is killing Boruto. But they can save Kawaki by just killing Jigen. And Boruto, who is listening to all of this, looks completely devastated when he thinks about becoming Momoshiki. And Kawaki just thinks there in silence while Sumire is worried. And Kawaki's expression looks more like acceptance, like maybe he's already realized this, or he's just willing to accept his fate. But I think this makes an interesting topic of discussion because where would Naruto draw the line? Is he willing to kill his son for the future of the shinobi world? This is a great place to talk about Naruto because throughout the Boruto series so far, it's been about him being a parent versus him being a Hokage. That was the whole point of the whole movie arc. And now we've gotten to the point where Naruto now has another adopted son, so he has two sons to care for. And once again, he may have to look at drawing the line between being a father and being a Hokage when the shinobi world's at stake, because letting Boruto live leaves the possibility for Momoshiki to be revived, and letting Kawaki live leaves the possibility for Isshiki to be revived. So in Naruto's head, he has to think about being a father as well as a Hokage at the same time. I want to get this out of the way. I don't think Naruto would ever consider sacrificing either of them for the shinobi world, but I think it'll be an interesting point of conflict throughout the story. So, back to the chapter once again. So Sasuke questions Jigen or Amato's explanation on karma and Isshiki being revived because karma still shows up on Jigen, and Amato says that Isshiki didn't place karma on Jigen because he was too weakened and was about to die, and says that it takes a lot of energy to put karma on someone. So instead, Isshiki shrunk himself and entered Jigen's ear and slowly took him over like a parasite till the point where he now has full control over him and is now able to place karma on him. But the reason he hasn't revived himself is because Jigen's body is too weak to handle Isshiki's chakra. So Jigen can't be the vessel, and that's why they've been preparing Kawaki. When I look back on it, it's kind of similar to Naruto Shippuden, where Setsu was kind of prepping Madara to prepare for Kaguya's revival. Except Kaguya kinda needed all of the tail beasts combined, the ghetto statue, the Ten Tails, and Madara's body in itself, with Senju and Uchiha DNA. Meanwhile, Isshiki is just using, I guess, Jigen's body as a parasite host, and is fully preparing Kawaki's body. So when you think about it, if Isshiki came back, he would be as strong as Kawaki is now with all of his own abilities added onto that. One last thing I want to talk about before I go into the final parts of the chapter is Jigen. Jigen was just some regular dude, a monk at a temple, and he was probably just out for his morning stroll one day, and then Isshiki decides to enter his ear and take him over for at least the past 100 years or however long it's been since Kaguya and Isshiki fought, and since Kaguya took over Earth and everything that's happened since. Also, I think we should just refer to Jigen as Isshiki now because it's not really Jigen the monk who's been the bad guy, it's been Isshiki who's been in control of him the whole time. That aside, let's talk about the end of the chapter and the major revelation at the end once again. So, as their fight continues, we see Kashin Koji use more similar jutsu to Jiraiya, like with the Earth-style Dark Swamp jutsu, which was followed by him using that as a distraction to pull out a summoning, which turned out to be flames from a flaming mountain, and since it was real fire, Jigen was unable to absorb it. I wonder if that has to do with his secret, or I guess Kashin Koji's secret to defeating Jigen used real world elements to attack him. Or maybe something like nature energy is going to be the key, like Sage Mode or something. That could also be why we haven't seen them use Sage Mode at all, or we haven't seen Mitsuki use Sage Mode. Maybe they're saving it for a moment like this. This is somewhat unrelated, but I want to talk about it real quick. But when you look back at the anime, when Urashiki first appeared during the movie arc and he fought Mitsuki, he had not the slightest clue what Sage Mode was, and felt the need to absorb and take it. So maybe that's the key to beating the Otsutsuki, because it's possible that they're unable to combat Sage energy or natural energy. But that aside, let's get to the final bits of the chapter. And I thought Amato's final lines of the chapter were definitely interesting, because I want to quote this. He says, "We must not let him be reborn into Kawaki's body. Ishiki's power is immense. If he were to return in full form, we wouldn't be able to stop him, and it'll be the end of this world." I think with that sentence alone, we know how strong Isshiki is going to be, and that's at least as strong as Kaguya, because they said very similar things about her for when she was revived. Because back then, the only way Naruto and Sasuke could deal with her is by sealing her. We still don't even know officially if Naruto and Sasuke have surpassed her. It's logical to conclude that they have, because Momoshiki was probably stronger than Kaguya, since Kaguya was preparing for Momoshiki and Kinshiki's arrival. And Naruto and Sasuke were able to beat Kinshiki at half of their strength, because, in case you forgot how the movie went, Naruto was having his Nine Tails chakra drained for like half a day before they fought, and Sasuke had to use his space-time ninjutsu, which they've stated repeatedly uses a lot of chakra, and they were still able to beat them at half of their strength. So I think that's enough indirect confirmation or context clues to come to that conclusion. That aside, Amato also says that, so as long as there is karma, Otsutsuki will revive. They're beings who have transcended death. But I like how right after that he says, but it's not like it's impossible. I'll teach all of you how to kill an Otsutsuki, and that's where the chapter ends. I thought that chapter was pretty great. We got all sorts of information regarding Kaguya, the clan, Isshiki, and some confirmation, some things that were fully confirmed, like them being partners. And we also have lots of foreshadowing for what's to possibly come later, with the fact that Boruto may be getting slowly taken over by Momoshiki. One thing we know for sure is that Isshiki doesn't take over Kawaki and Momoshiki doesn't take over Boruto by the time they fight, but something does happen to make them become enemies of each other, and I wonder what that is, because Kawaki seems like the type of person who's willing to make a sacrifice for Naruto and people he's cared about, but I guess that all kind of changes somehow, because He's literally doing the opposite in episode 1, where we see that he's turned against the village and has destroyed everything. But I think it'd be interesting if it wasn't actually him who destroyed the village, and that he's just walking into the rubble of the destroyed village that was caused by somebody. Maybe possibly even Naruto making a mistake somewhere along the line. I talked about earlier how Naruto has to choose between being a Hokage and a father while making decisions about these two, and maybe that comes into play later on. But that's all the major things I want to talk about during this chapter. There's lots of stuff regarding Kashin Koji and Jiraiya, but I do think that'll all be resolved in the next chapter. I'm hoping. They've actually done a good job of stalling this out, but I'm pretty sure we'll get a resolution within next month, the halfway point of the year, because I don't think they want to wait any longer, because eventually we're gonna get Kashin Koji's first lines in the anime, and we'll hear his voice actor. And I'm not sure if they'll use Jiraiya's voice actor, if it's actually him. But if it is and they use Jiraiya's voice actor, we don't want the anime spoiling us before the manga does, because that would actually suck. But this chapter did give us lots of hints towards everyone's main theory, and that's that Kashin Koji is a cyborg modeled after Jiraiya. That's exactly what I think is going to be revealed in the next chapter. But let me know what you think is going to happen in the next chapter, what kind of revelations and what will happen. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and bye.